Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are in the country. And I hope we have all of the picture and audio completely corrected. And if you would give me some kind of a sign, I will let me know that you're hearing me. And I hope you're having a cup of coffee, or tea, or a beer, or whatever your beverage of choice, ideally out of one of these mugs. Always plugging those mugs. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much. I noticed you've been chatting a little bit before I got on here, and just taking a look at the chat here and seeing what's been going on. T-Bone, you have some stickers. Do you have stickers? I think I've sent you some stickers. You were definitely first on the chat today. So if you'd like some stickers, just let me know and I'll get you some. And hey, Vinny, good to see you. And Vinny calls me, I think, the elder statesman of YouTube, the old man in a tank. And hope you're doing well, Vinny. And let's see, SoCal Fish. Hello, SoCal Fish. Mike's Aquariums. Hey, Kevin. KG is here. And I just saw you put a PetSmart or a Petco video. I've got one of those coming out tomorrow, actually. PetSmart in Nashville. And I like your comment. If you're in there, you gotta film. And your daughter is getting cuter every day. So, Warrior475, hello, Warrior475, Doug M. Hey, R. Baglio, we're going to be showing your tank later on today. Cat Sailor, hello, Cat Sailor, good to see you. And good morning to you. So let's go ahead and get underway. Hey, Po Siwi. Po Siwi is here. Marty is here. Hey, Marty. Glad you're here. Chevy Fish. Joey. Craig Boderick. Looks like. Okay, good. And Doug M., the sound is good. That is good to hear, and no pun intended. Last week, hey, Candy, I'm glad you're here. Didn't hear back from you on Facebook. I was starting to panic a little bit. I'm glad you're here. And I'm sure probably GP will be joining us as well. And a big shout out to the moderators. I have great moderators, best moderators around. And GP and Candy, Kevin, Denny when he makes it. I mean, these guys really keep an eye on things. Thank you so much. And was that it, Vinny, the gentleman of YouTube? I thought it was like the elder or the older or something like that, and maybe that was just the way I took it. Some of you know the book Old Man and the Sea. I think I'll start a channel, Old Man and the Tank. So. All right, so let's get down to business here. Let's go ahead and officially start this live stream. I do that so I can sneak a cup of coffee. So if you're new, this is the first time you've seen this, be sure to, first time to my channel, if you like learning about fish, taking care of fish, aquariums, all kinds of good stuff, hit that sub button and bell, and that way you'll always get notified when I upload content. And one more plug for you, and we'll get on with it here. Some of you have asked how to support the channel. Certainly super chats. Those of you that super chat, you're, as my kids say, you're the bomb. You're awesome. Your help is really appreciated. But you can also visit my Amazon store now. Something about that Amazon store. If you go there, I have a list of all the products I've used and reviewed over the years. But also if you go to Amazon with that link, anything you buy at Amazon, you go over and you buy a big screen TV, and the channel gets credit. And doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't change your price. So it's a great way to support the channel, to get to Amazon using Amazon.com/shop/Ben Ochart. I think I've convinced my kids to start using it. Also, the Teespring, where you can pick up T-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, things like that. Great ways to support the channel. So there you have it. That's the end of the commercial. So quick shout out to last week's vendors. We had some great giveaways last week. A lot of you have already claimed your prizes and ordered fish and things. Our Baglio got his Vegas Valley. Send him some food. And you can see there, and Aquarium Co-op sent him something. He was one of our double winners. We had 2 double winners, and our Baglio was one of them. And he was able to pick up some nice, you can see there's some Extreme and some North Fin. And I am working on more giveaways. Whether or not I can get those rolling before before the chaos of getting over to Nashville starts, we'll see. But I do have some other things in the works for more giveaways. I want to get you guys some stuff, as much stuff as I can. So thank you to the vendors for participating in that. And some of them have offered to participate again if I do it again. So we'll see. So what are you folks talking about? Randy Rodriguez, 303 here. Okay, Cat Sailor, greetings, Ben, Candy and GP, and Rico Stan, hiya all. Hey, Rico Stan, T-Bone, James Fam Adventures. Hey, James. Hey, Francie, glad you're here. And yes, you're here for the beginning. Craig, all the way from Melbourne. You know, we have a pretty big, if you look at the channel analytics, Australia and Great Britain are very well represented. I mean, naturally, as you'd expect, United States is in the first spot. New York comes in as one of the top cities, actually, for the channel. And then UK and Australia. So, but we get folks from all over the world. Some places, sometimes very, very exotic locations. Zed Adams over in South Africa. That's what I'm talking about. And where in South Africa? I've heard that there are some beautiful places there. I had a friend from there, and he would go on and on about how gorgeous it is. So, Randy Rodriguez, what happened to your sump? What's the fail? I'm going to get there, I promise. First, let's talk a little bit about what's been happening and what's coming up. I had a few videos that I released. I released a large opus, a very long video on how to take care of a sump, and how to take care of an FX6. And I did it from start to finish. I didn't show shutting it off. All I do is turn the valves off, disconnect them, and pull them out. Someone asked me, hey, you didn't show the disconnect. Shut the valves, disconnect them, pull it out. Very simple. And but I think it's over 20 minutes, and it's getting a pretty good response. And I also released a video on chemical filtration. Do you folks use chemical filtration? If you do, why do you use it? And if you don't, why don't you use it? Go ahead and comment in the chat, and I'll get back to your comments when we get into the chat section at the end. I'll get back into them, and we'll talk about a little bit about that. But I talk about in there my thoughts about chemical filtration, why I was using it, why I phased it out of my tanks, and check out the video. It got a pretty good response. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, I'm going to be showing you the PetSmart in Nashville. My wife has the patience of a saint. Here we are running around Nashville looking at properties, and we drive by I'm like a kid driving by a candy store or an ice cream shop. Stop! You got to stop! So she said, okay. We pulled over, and I got out, and I shot some film. Like Kevin says, you got to film. And About a third into it, in my excitement, I forgot to put my mask on, and Nashville does have a mask requirement. And the manager came over, sir, can I help you? He didn't tell me to put the mask on, but he had one on, and I looked around, and everybody else had one on, and I went, oh, I forgot. So I had it in my pocket and put it on, and then I became legit. It didn't affect the video because I did a voiceover afterwards, so you didn't hear a muffled audio. Also, this coming Wednesday, I'm going to be releasing a video on sponges, all the different ways of using sponges, different types of sponges, and my thoughts about these different sponges. And anyway, it's just a whole video dedicated to mechanical filtration and sponge filtration. Like the Fluval, it's a little bit longer. I think Wednesdays, I'm changing my schedule a little bit. On Wednesdays, I'm going to be releasing more technical how-to videos. And then on Sundays, we'll do something fun and light. And then, of course, we'll have the Saturday live stream. So we'll have a little bit of a different schedule, but and maybe I'll get another video in there if I can. But with what's coming up, I'm kind of cutting back the schedule just a little bit because just to be realistic, we're looking at getting boxes. We're getting quotes on moving services, and we're going to have the mother of all yard sales. We're going to probably sell off as much as we can, keeping only the essentials, and going from there. A quick note on the vendor shout out. It looks like everybody's gotten their stuff. We did have one person who never contacted me. I think they might have left the stream. If I see them on the stream, I will go ahead and call them out. But everybody else, it looks like, is either getting their stuff or it's on the way. I did receive a little sponge filter, and this is going to be getting sent out to. I gave someone a choice of a sponge. Oh, this is from a prior live stream. So we do have the sponge filter that's going to be sent out. And I have a few other items I'm going to give away at the end of today's live stream. So hang in for that and have your fingers ready. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, let's get into today's topic. And, Sumps, some of you out there are, and I even saw some comments here on Sumps. And some folks are a little bit afraid of Sumps. Someone made a comment under one of my videos about how people who have Sumps are BMW. They act like BMW owners, like they're special or. I thought that was kind of funny, but the Sumps, once you get them dialed in, they're very simple. They are pretty quiet. If you have them dialed in correctly, there are ways of muting them so you don't hear the noise. There's ways of doing the plumbing so that they're quiet. I have something I put together in the overflow box on this tank it's called a Durso, that it brings the water into the overflow so it doesn't cascade down. You don't hear that constant crashing of water as it goes down into the overflow box. It gets quietly taken down a tube called a Durso, and because it's in a closed cabinet, you really don't hear much. So what I wanted to do with this sump was to increase the gallons per hour. My theory being that if I could increase the gallons per hour, one, more water turnover going through over media and through mechanical filtration. I have sponges as well as a ton of bio in the sump, and that's one of the advantages of a sump. You can put tremendous amount of media in it, and it adds extra water volume, so that dilutes things like nitrates, ammonia, things of this nature, nitrite, anything like that gets diluted down because of the extra 30 gallons of, 30, 40 gallons of water that's in that 2-section sump I have under this tank. What I was also hoping to do was to raise the water level, because you see where it runs. This has to do with where the cutouts are on the overflow. And so my water level runs about here, about an inch short of the top. So I was hoping with a little more water volume, I could bring this up a little bit. And fortunately, the canopy comes down to the top of the water level, so you don't notice it that much. Depending on the angle of the camera, you might. But and maybe it's not going to make a difference, but it's just one of the reasons why I wanted to go from 1,920 gallons per hour, which is what the current pump is putting out. It's called a Rio 32 high flow, HF. It's a good pump. It's quiet. I put it on a special rubberized platform that Rio provides you with, so it doesn't transfer vibration to the cabinet. It's a good little pump. Be a great backup pump for a sump, and it's done a good job on this one. You can see the water quality is excellent. By the way, if you're wondering where all my plants went and why I have a bare tank, the plants were in need of cleaning, and I talk about this in a prior video. I talk about the soaking the plants overnight in a very light ammonia solution, not ammonia, I'm sorry, but bleach solution, and so it soaks overnight. Then you pour all that out, give it a good rinse. Then you soak them overnight with water conditioner, like Fritz or anything that would be a water conditioner. You soak them 24 hours in that. Then you give them another good rinse, and then you knock off any algae that might be on them, and then you put them back in the tank. Perfectly safe. Chlorine pretty much gases off within a few hours. Anything it gases off, so it becomes relatively harmless. I wouldn't suggest you pour it into your tank ever. So you do give it a good rinse. And so that's where all my plants are. That's why you're seeing a bare tank, which I don't mind too much, actually. I think it looks kind of cool. You can really see the fish. No place to hide. And they're not killing each other. You see the bubbles over here from the Expert-Matic? That's the Expert-Matic hang-on back that I talk about in a prior video. And it's putting out air, working as a bubbler and a power head, and also as a 3-stage sponge filter. I did a video on that. So what happened with the sump? So I go to change the sump, the pump. I pull the pump out, and I figure, in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be a simple swap, right? Because the new pump comes with a variety of adapters. So I'm thinking there's got to be an adapter in here that's going to allow me to just plug into the existing line, and I'll be good to go. Well, guess what? If you have a pump that's 2,500 gallons per hour, which is what this pump is. This is a Syncra Advanced pump provided to me by the company CC in Italy, CC, along with their representative, Jay Wilson. So Jay Wilson was kind enough to send me this pump, which is a very serious. The salt community loves these pumps. They're very quiet, extremely quiet, and very, very powerful. And you don't need any tools to work on it. It has a brace here that you snap off. And this brace, once you take it off, you can take apart the unit very simply. It's a very simple take. And this thing rotates. So depending where you place it, This thing moves side to side. This allows you to determine where you want the water to come in. By turning it, you can determine how the water is going to enter into the system. And you can also rotate this, which it's hard to do with one hand, but at any rate, this thing pulls apart. It has a self-cleaning impeller, and it's just the real deal. And it was very, very kind of CC and Jay to send me this. But guess what? If you're going to use this, you need a minimum of 1 inch. You need a 1 inch on here. You cannot use the you can't use the 3/4 inch that I have on my aquarium. So I pulled up the hoses out, and I quickly realized there's no way on earth this is going to fit onto this pump. So what I do is I run down to the local store, and I pick up the necessary hardware, which included a 1 inch hose system. This is like a food grade aquarium specific, it's a really nice hose, 1 inch. And you can see here, this is the CC adapter. This is the adapter that would go onto the CC right there. That connects, this is the CC adapter that goes onto the sump right there, onto the sump pump. So this goes onto the pump. I'll probably put a ring, maybe I'll put something on here, even though that is really on there. That's not going to be a problem. And then I had to pick up, of course, the hardware. This piece here, I had to pick up, that goes into the pump, that goes into the tank rather, this piece. So, okay, so I've got everything. I even have a valve. Now, if you're ever going to set up a sump, if you're ever considering, I saw one comment there, and if you're going to set up a sump, you don't have to worry about flooding if you put in the right safeguards. And one of them is you put a valve like this. This is a one-way valve. And this valve gets spliced in here so that in the event of a power failure or you're working on the tank, water doesn't come back from the tank and overflow your sump. Another thing you can do is you can drill a hole. You can drill a hole like back here, small hole, right around the water line, so that if water starts to go back from your tank to the sump, that hole will get air will come in and break the siphon. So you'll have no worries about a back siphon. Now, when you add that to the fact that your overflow has cutouts at the top, so it's only going to take water to the bottom of those cutouts. You see that? You're only going to drain in the event of a power failure, let's say. You're only going to drain to the bottom of those cutouts, and this is going to break the siphon immediately in the event of a power outage and you start to back siphon. So if you run your sump correctly with enough room, open space without water, right, at the top of your sump, you're not going to have any floods. You're not going to flood. And I actually have a video, you can see it in my sump playlist, where I turn everything off. Like I actually do a mock or a test power outage, and the water starts to come back and you see it stop about this far from the top of the sump. So there's no flood. There's no chance of a flood. The only way you could get a flood would be if you, let's say your sump cracked, burst, something, some defect. But that can happen with anything. That can happen with an aquarium. That can happen with anything. You can have a defect, right? You can have the bottom of a hang-on back filter start to leak. You can have a canister start to leak, right? So at any rate, I connect this up. I connect this up to the tank. I get the pump in there. I get this hooked up, put this in, right? Get all the old stuff out, turn it on, and it's so strong. It's so strong that it outran the drainage. In other words, the compartment where the Cichlid is, where the pump is, was running down to where the pump was just pumping air, because it was pumping faster than the water could come in. So obviously I ended up with a morning and part of an afternoon wasted, because the pump is too strong for this setup. And yet if you look at it mechanically, I have a 1-inch cutout at the bottom of the overflow and 1-inch hose. So I should have a smooth flow. The pump is just too darn strong. The thing is just a beast. It's just a beast. It right when it turned on and I saw the water flow, I just said, "Oh man, this thing is like I could probably run one of the Bellagio fountains with this thing." So, at any rate, needless to say, I was very frustrated, because I then needed to pull everything out and put back the old system, and pretty much ditch about 2 hours of video, which would have been like edited down, of course, to like 30 minutes, because the ending was just a disaster. And so what I've done is I've learned a couple lessons, and one of them is of course really kind of diagramming and really checking things out, maybe asking some questions. Maybe I should have called Jay or called the people at Cichlid and asked them a little bit about it. They probably would have known, but I've ordered the stuff that's going to make it work, because I really want to make it work, just as an exercise. Because look, this could run fine between now and the end of October, when everything's going to get broken down anyway for the move. So, but you know me, I want to be learning. I want to figure it out. I want to figure out the mechanics of it. So I've ordered what is called a gate valve. So the pump is going to be going into a gate valve, and that gate valve is going to be able to tweak and fine-tune the output. Now, am I actually going to end up at the gallons per hour of the Rio? I don't think so. The Rio pump that's on there now is rated at 1,920 gallons per hour. You lose a little bit in what is called head pressure. For every foot that it's raising the water, you lose GPH. So it's probably realistically around 1,500 gallons per hour when you figure in head pressure. So I'll probably end up around 2,000 gallons per hour after I use the gate valve and I've got it all plumbed up correctly and set up correctly with the gate valve. So I am going to figure this thing out, and I am going to have it running. The parts are going to be here next week, and I'm going to get this thing under control and going the way it's supposed to. And then I'll release the video with a happy ending. The video that I was going to release was all of the steps I'm talking about, and then at the end of it, it's just me closing up the cabinets and just saying, "Hey, always be learning," right? You know, disaster. Let's put everything back together again. And anyway, I wasted an afternoon, and but maybe there'll be a takeaway for you if you plan on doing a sump. Maybe there'll be a takeaway for you. There certainly was a takeaway for me. And at any rate, That's my story. If you have a sump, comment in the chat and let me know your experiences with sumps. Have you had any experiences with sumps like that? What's been your experience setting up a sump? I'd love to hear about it. We're always learning from each other, right? And let's take a look at what you folks have been talking about. I see you've been active in your chat. And Warriors 475, yes, you know, and Cichlid does have a 9.0, does have a 2,500 gallon per hour pump that does have an app. This one is not the app one. So what the app does is it allows you to control the flow. This version of it, the 9.0 advanced version, amazing pump, but it doesn't have the Wi-Fi app, so I can control it with an app or a controller. So I've got to go old school and put a gate valve, not a ball valve, but a gate valve is the better valve to put on an output back to a tank. So the gate valve will be my app in this case. So Randy Rodriguez, I appreciate your vid on the FX6. That's good. I'm happy you like that. It had been 4 or 5 months, maybe a little bit longer, since the last time I had serviced it. You saw how gunked up those mesh bags were. I put the media in mesh bags, making it easy to put in and take out of the filter. And man, they were just so gunked up. Also, I stopped using pinky floss. I was putting pinky floss at the top of the canister so that when the water was going down and hitting the top sponge and the media, it would have been polished by that pinky floss. The problem was that pinky floss does such a good job that I was having to reach in there every 2-3 weeks and pull it out, swap it out, and put another one in. I got tired of doing that, so I decided to run it without pinky. And as you can see, even with the pre-filter, it got pretty gunked up. But it was 4 or 5 months, so not too bad when you consider it ran 4 or 5 months without being touched. So do the factory tanks? This is Donald's Fish Vibes. Does the factory tanks with Sump come with these mitigations? Well, you know, the factory tanks are usually they're usually sort of a plug and play. You just connect up where it shows you to connect up, fill it with water, follow the instructions, fill it to the fill line, and fire it up. Very often those have a sump system on the back of the tank, so the tank is, you know, like 4/5 tank. And then the last fifth is a wall, and then you have a sump, and the back of it has an overflow cutout, like this box has cutouts where the water goes in, it travels across the back of the tank, and then is pumped back in. Those are pretty much plug and play. You don't have to do anything. And technically, they're sumps. Really, you could almost make an argument that technically they're big hang-on back filters is what they probably really are. Mick, I have a sump. Let me see. This is a Mick S77. I have a sump and I run 2 DC Ecotech Vectra pumps. Ecotech makes great stuff. Great stuff. If you guys want to see where the future of our hobby is going, go to saltwateraquarium.com. Go to bulk reef, bulk wholesalers. There's a couple of them out there. Go to these salty web pages and look at the equipment that they sell. Everything from remote cams to phone control of your lights and pumps, and your power heads are controlled by an app on your phone. Your pumps are controlled by an app on your phone. Anyway, if you want to know the future, all of that technology, like in every industry, like the automotive industry, you look at racing, motorcycles, look at Grand Prix motorcycle racing. That technology trickles its way down into the public sector. So it's not going to be very long before we're going to have affordable apps. We're going to have affordable power heads and pumps and canister filters that we control with our phones. So that's coming. And I would say within the next three years, you're going to see that technology in the freshwater community. The freshwater community isn't clamoring for it, isn't demanding it, and that's probably why you don't see it as much, but it will get there. It will get there. Some super chats. Hey, thank you for those super chats, folks. They really are appreciated. Francie, thank you, Francie, for that. And I think we had another super chat just hit. Marty. Hey, Marty. Marty Borst, thank you for that. Every little bit helps. I appreciate it. So let's take a look here at the chat, see what's going on. I'm going back in the chat and I'll work my way forward. Vinny, thank you for that. Bring class to the hobby. Thank you very much. James, I'm glad you're here too. James Pham Adventures. Papos 1610, Israel is here also. Wow, that's awesome. I've mentioned this before. My son was sent to Israel as part of his job training. Loved it. He loved his trip to Israel. Let's see here. Sean Hall, Scotland in the UK. Sean, I hope to go to your country someday. I'd also love to visit Israel someday if I could. Adam Moore, thanks to Candy as well for being awesome, not only responsive to emails, but rocking it here as well. You're a rock star. That's the truth. Candy is the multitask monster, the queen of the live stream. Let's see here. I am scanning the live stream or scanning the chat. Joey Stevens, I use FX6 with BioHome Ultimate and a second filter on my 125 with Lava Rock and nitrates down below 10 parts per million on a heavily stocked African Cichlid tank with about 30 juveniles and common pleco. Wow, that's really impressive. Joey, how many kilos or pounds, you can talk pounds or kilos, of BioHome are you using? I'd be curious about that. And nitrates below 10 parts per million. That's awesome. Personally, I've come close to that maybe once or twice when the 100 gallon was lightly stocked and I put in the algae scrubber where I was harnessing algae and growing algae to consume nitrates, right? And somebody corrected me one time. They said that plants, the reason nitrates come down when you have plants is not so much that the plants are consuming nitrate, it's that they're consuming ammonia. The plants actually consume ammonia. Do you know about that? If you know about it, comment. It was new to me. I always just assumed, not because I studied it or anything, I just assumed plants consume nitrates. But what the point the person was making is that, and if Corey at the Aquarium Co-op was on the live stream, he would know for sure because he's done a lot of education in plants. But apparently the reason nitrates go down is because the plants at the beginning of the nitrogen cycle, the plants consume the ammonia. And so there's less ammonia to convert to nitrate, and so your nitrates go down. I thought that was very interesting. Algae, green algae will do that, as will plants. And so one way to control your nitrates is to reduce your ammonia through plants. So let's see what else is going on here. Bruno Lobo, the cascade noise inside of the stand. You're probably talking about the hose that goes from the bottom of the tank to the top of my drip system, and I could actually plumb that. I could use, right now I'm using a flex hose. Flex hoses are noisy. I mean, they're ribbed, and as the water goes through, I mean, they just make noise, and they, with the cabinet closed, you really can't hear it that much. However, I could use a hard plumbing that comes out from the tank, goes up over the trickle system, then maybe put what they call a union, and then put a flex hose there. That might be a little bit quieter. I've thought about a project like that, but again, I'm breaking it all down in November, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep it. So I didn't want to get too elaborate, but probably the next sump I set up is going to be with hard plumbing, and the plumbing will be either inside the cabinet or behind the cabinet, and so that noise is going to be eliminated. There's a thing called a Herbie overflow, and what's called a Herbie system, and there's also the Durso system that quiets down inside the overflow box. This is called a peninsula tank. A peninsula tank because it's designed to be displayed sideways. In other words, you have an area of your house. Let's say you have let's say you have a shelf or a countertop, a long countertop. You could put this tank on it, and you could see through it from, let's say, a kitchen to a dining room. You'd have this tank as a peninsula style. It's designed to be looked through, and that's why they put the overflow box over here. So that goes against the wall, and then you have maximum viewing space. But I'm not using it that way. I'm using it as a traditional tank, and so I have this box over here, which would normally be in the back corner. Usually a tank this size, you'd have an overflow box in each back corner of the tank. So you'd have two outlets right at the bottom being plumbed into probably two what are called socks, where the water goes into, and these socks catch the big debris, which then flows through the sump and back up to the, then the water flows through the sump, through media, and back up to the tank. So let's see what else is going on here with the chat. Adam Moore, Jaguar owners? Are you talking about that Sump owners are like BMW owners? You're saying they're like Jaguar owners? Or like Porsche owners? I'm better than you because I have a sump is absolutely nonsense. But I could see how if you're a freshwater guy like I am, and I've had saltwater people actually say stuff that was kind of stupid and kind of rude. You don't really know anything because you're freshwater, or you're just in the minor leagues because you're freshwater. You know, just like in freshwater, we have trolls and idiots. There are trolls and idiots in the saltwater community too, and who think that they're above us freshwater people and they can be condescending. Very small percentage. The rest of the folks I've run into in the salty community are actually very, very helpful, just like in the freshwater community. And you certainly can't judge an entire group of people, like all sump owners. You don't judge an entire group by one or two, asshats. Let's see here. James uses a canister and a sump. That's a very common combination. Very, very, very common. All right, I am scanning through the chat. Francie Arroyo asking for more likes. Hit that like button. I know who you are if you don't hit it. When I first started these live streams, I said that Kevin Green had software that would tell him the actual identity of anyone that was acting up or being a troll. I think, Kevin, we made a lot of people real nervous for just a few minutes. And of course, we don't have that. It'd be funny if we had that. It'd be like Liam Nielsen, right? I know where you are. I can find you. All right. Adam Moore, if you had to drive 5 hours to a fish store, do you think the fish would survive the drive home in bags, or would I need to use my nano USB pump? I would recommend that you use the pump and take a styrofoam or like a picnic container, right? That's insulated, and have the. Now, see, if you have it in bags, you'd have to have each bag aerated, unless you don't mind just mixing the water. Depends what kind of fish you're going to get. If they're all fish that can come in one container, put them all in that one styrofoam container, and with water sloshing around them, then put your bubblers in there, and yeah, that would make it less stressful. But keep in mind, it's very common for people that sell fish, right? Wonder of Cichlids, Cunningham Cichlids, the Cichlid Shack, right? All these folks, Live Fish Direct, they bag up their fish and they ship them, sometimes 2-day air, right? It takes 2 days to get to your doorstep. Very often they go 5-hour, airport freight pickup, freight to freight, and the fish are fine. 99% of the time, they arrive fine, unless there's a big delay or there's crazy weather, or there's a leak in the bag. 99% of the time, they arrive with no problems. So I would say, to be extra safe, sure, use your pump. It'll make it less stressful. The less stress on the fish, the better. Keep them covered up. Keep it a little dark. Make it easy on them. But also keep in mind, they get shipped all the time. They probably, depending what fish you're buying, they probably survived being shipped from Indonesia, right? Over several days. So they came in these massive boxes, and then they got unboxed, they got quarantined, then you go pick them up. So they're pretty rugged. They'll make it. Then when you get them home, just do if you have loose water in a styrofoam, you're going to have to probably bag them and float them. So you might be better off just leaving them in an oxygen-infused bag, because that'll make it easier when you get home, and then just float them. Because if they're just sloshing around in a styrofoam container, you're going to have to bag them up to float them to match the temp. So just things to consider. All right, let's see here. Moving down the chat. Lower the PVC in the overflow box so that the water can fill up more inside the. Now, Robert, when you say lower the PVC, you're talking about the Durso overflow. I have a pipe inside this box. You say lower it, or do you mean raise it, make it higher? Because that making it higher would raise the water line. If I lower it, I'll have more cascading water, right? Are we talking the same thing? We might be talking about something different. So let's see. Adam, if you're asking about the tank behind me, it's 150 gallon with about 30 to 40 gallons in a sump underneath it. And of course you have displacement of decor and gravel, that kind of stuff. That lowers the amount of gallons. KC Cichlids, somebody was asking about foggy eye. I've always cured foggy eye with frequent water changes and salt. I made sure I gravel vacuumed as much detritus out of the tank and kept up on filter maintenance. You know, Kevin, that I hear that pretty regularly, that the best solution for foggy eye is fresh water, fresh, clean water. So I agree 100%. Again, I'm going through the chat here. Chi3F, CHI3F, R34P. These names are fascinating. I don't, you know, just got some Anubias, Java moss, moneywort, and water milfoil. I am stoked at adding live plants. Just a word of caution, if you're adding live plants to a cichlid tank, you may have some trouble. Keep an eye on them. Cichlids love to munch on plants. And but you know what? When I finally do move, I want to plant a tank. I want to plant a tank really bad. I've gone to some websites recently and seen some of the planted arrangements. Oh my God, they're gorgeous. And some people have planted tanks with deep substrates. They don't even filter them. There's no filtration. And there's neons in there, and you know, there's like very small tetras, and they're gorgeous. And the plants are doing all the filtering, right? They have deep rooted, they have dirt, and then gravel, and they're infusing CO2, and they have a little bit of duckweed on top, sometimes controlled in a floating disc, so it's just a circle of duckweed. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So I think that's going to be part of the fish room once I get situated. I have had a couple major players in the fish keeping game that I'm talking to about possibly some assistance in the move, some help. I might be doing something with Aquarium Co-op. I might be doing something with Nolan's aquarium. Might be doing something with the Cichlid Shack. So moving some fish around, getting some fish room advice. So it's going to be quite an adventure. I hope to film a lot of it, of course, and share it with you as it progresses. The water, Jeff, when I removed the pinky floss, the water was still very clear, but as you saw in that FX6 video, everything, you know, the filter got pretty gunked up. I mean, the outside sponges made those buckets of water black. The first top black sponge made the buckets black. So I might go back to putting in the pinky floss. I figured with the pre-filter I'd be okay, but maybe I'll get more time out of it. The pre-filter does a lot of the work. When I rinse out the pre-filter, it releases a lot of gunk. So that pre-filter is helping a lot. I rinse it with every water change. That big, bulky, coarse pre-filter is catching a lot of waste. Food that settles on it gets eaten by the fish, which is why I love pre-filters. And I rinse it with every water change. They're available from the Aquarium Co-op, and it just slips right over the intake tube, which I drilled some holes into, and then I put it up there with a little adapter at the top. I cut a hose and made a little adapter so it really holds on there firmly. So okay, Warrior 475, I have a sump on a 180. So your problem was the opposite, where your water was coming out faster than the pump could get it back to the tank, which means that your sump would the water level would start to rise up over time, and hopefully you had the right amount of water in the system so that you would stop draining water from the tank before you would overflow. But still, you have to sync it up. And I do have a ball valve on the at the bottom of this overflow box. There is a ball valve that I can tweak. It's open all the way right now, and I've only used it on a few occasions where I just wanted to stop the water from coming out. Robert, yes, I only run one pump on the Sump. It is that's the way it's set up right now, just one pump. John Doe, hey, long time no see. That's right. I don't remember seeing you in a long time, John. That filter in the back corner, this Expertmatic, and I think if that's what you're talking about, Robert, it is doing a lot of water polishing, and I'll tell you something that happened. The bubbler stopped working. It stopped making bubbles, and I had just done I had just messed around with these large stand-up sponges that I have in the Sump, big massive sponge that I have from Swiss Tropicals, one of those pour-it matin sponges, right? So I pulled it out, and when I pull it out, it can't help but drop a little bit of waste into the Sump. So what happened is when I restarted the Sump, that waste came in, some of it came into the tank. Some of you will put a little net over the output and catch waste that way. Smart idea. I didn't do it. That little Expertmatic 3-chamber filter, it gathered up all of that gunk in like 2-3 hours. The tank was crystal clear, but it did such a great job that it didn't have enough force to make bubbles. So I quickly pulled the bottom chamber off, got all the sponges cleaned, put it back on, and it started bubbling again. But I was really impressed at how much of the floating detritus it actually pulled in and actually polished the heck out of the water in just a couple hours. So I'm a believer in this little pump, and I've actually talked to Expertmatic and to the people at Ultimate Aquarium Galleries, because I want to set up a Mabuna tank when I get to Nashville. So I'm already setting up some of these vendors and telling them, look, send me a whole bunch of these for my tanks because I want to feature you in my videos. And they're starting to tell me, okay, how many tanks are you going to have? What are you going to need? So I'm going to start setting up some equipment. But I like these little Expertmatics. I think it's Fluval. Is it Fluval? Or is it Cobalt? One of them makes a thing called a shark. John did a video on it over at KG Tropicals. Not KG Cichlids, KG Tropicals. It's called a shark, but I really like this one. This one's done a great job, and unless you gunk up your tank the way I did, it can run for about a month. Then you simply pull off that bottom section. You can let the power head keep running, unless you want to do a cleaning on that. Pull off the back section, pull it out, rinse the sponges, snap it back on, and the whole process took me 5 minutes. All right, let's see here. Jeff Chambers, I use Pinky in all my HOBs, but not in my FX6. I use Co-op large pre-filters on the FX6. Haven't had to clean it yet, though. I'm just curious how much Pinky will slow down the flow. I put one disc, one circular section of Pinky, white side up on the very top section so that it catches the water before it comes down the middle of the FX6. Just one. But I've got to pull it out at least once a month because it gets pretty gunked up. But that's gunk that isn't getting onto my media. So it's worth it, I guess. So I probably will be going back to Pinky. I have quite a bit of Pinky on hand, of Pinky filter floss. There is the pinky floss you can buy online. I do have it at my Amazon store. I don't suggest you buy the knockoffs. They have other ones called Pinky, but it doesn't say Pinky filter floss and doesn't show the octopus. I don't recommend that you buy that one because it actually separates. It's not as well made as the original Pinky floss, the Pinky filter floss with the pink octopus on it. So that's the one I suggest you get. It is available at my Amazon store. Okay. Posiwi, I got all my co-op sponge filters today. So excited. Posiwi, were those? Did you win the aquarium co-op? Did you win the card? Were you the winner on that? No, our Baglio won that one. Okay, so you just ordered from co-op. Awesome. Very, very cool. All right. Aquarium co-op is legit. So any other questions that you have for me, go ahead and ask them now. And otherwise, we will go ahead and start the wind down here. Candy put herself in timeout. Candy, did you put yourself in a timeout? All right. Posiwi won the Beantown and Cichlid Check. That's right. You were, our Baglio and Posiwi were the two double winners, and that was very, very cool. And Aquaball's got a second coffee cup. Send me a picture of you with that coffee cup, and I'll show you on the live stream. Which one did you get? What fish did you end up getting? Aquaballs. Adam Moore, I love all my aquarium co-op goodies. That's why I'm going to travel north for some fish. Very nice. Randy, I have a Teespring store where I list some of the goodies like coffee cups, t-shirts, hoodies, and I have an Amazon store where I put a whole variety of links of things that I use, filters, equipment, media, food, everything I use. Okay, talking about aquarium co-op. This is a USB chargeable air pump. Very, very cool. It has a hook, you can hang it, and it will run for a while. Not sure for how long. It is called a USB nano air pump. Great for travel. And so if you want this, the first person who types in, I want the USB nano air pump. I want the USB nano air pump. First one to type that in, you can have that. And I will send it to you. But you got to be the first one to type in, I want USB nano air pump. And Candy, if you can just let me know, or Kevin, let me know who won. And I also have a dwarf aquarium lily bulb. So the first one to type in, I want dwarf aquarium lily bulb. Dwarf aquarium lily bulb. First one who types in, I want dwarf aquarium lily bulb, I'm going to send this to you. I don't care where you are in the world, I'll ship it to you. I'll take the hit. And All right. So John Doe is the for the USB, it looks like. John Doe for the USB, and who gets the lily bulb? Candy, who gets that lily bulb? All right. Now, I also have bottom feeder shrimp pellets. It's been opened, but it's still delicious, and it's a big. So if you want bottom feeder shrimp pellets, you got to type in, I want bottom feeder shrimp pellets. And I will send you this big container of bottom feeder shrimp pellets. I'm going to be giving a lot of stuff away between now and the time I go, because I don't want to take it to Nashville. So, so Candy, you go ahead and just, if you'd be kind enough, I'd appreciate it, sweetie, if you would just send me a message and tell me who the winners were. And if you were the winner, please send me your mailing address to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. Okay, ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. And six-pack wants an FX6. Give them an inch, and they want everything. All right. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to my wonderful moderators. And anyone who super chatted, I hope I didn't miss any super chats. Thank you so much to those of you who did. Your super chats are appreciated. They do help support the channel, as does when you take a trip. When you take a trip to my Amazon link, or of course when you go to the Teespring channel, that helps as well. So be sure to follow me on Instagram. If you have an Instagram account, ben.o.cichlid on Instagram. I post video and photos that you will not see anywhere else except on Instagram. And we have that wonderful Facebook group. And that Facebook group has a sponsor. The Facebook group has a Super Cichlids. Super Cichlids actually sponsors our monthly banner contest. You can see here Victoria Kuhn is our September banner. And so every month we do a banner contest, and they get a nice gift certificate from Super Cichlids. So thank you to you, Super Cichlids. You are very appreciated. And be sure to sub, rate, share, all that good stuff. And I think with that, a big thank you to all of you. You are the best fans and best folks on YouTube. Thank you to my wonderful moderators. And I think that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and take care.